nobody's home. And so with gas being what it is, and of course, short staff, we just don't have time to be going out there 3 or 4 times, so I was just looking to penalize them a little bit more to make them be available when somebody went out there to have it reconnected.
Well, why do you need them to be there?
It's a liability to turn it on. If they left a faucet or something on in the house, something flooded over, it'd be the city's liability.
And our insurance company told us to mandate that as a part of our policy, because if not, we're liable. Because we turned it on.
Any more questions? This seemed pretty straightforward. All right.
Thank you.
Like turning on your gas, you gotta be there for that. Yep. All right, now we'll move to item 14, discussion and/or action on the approved budget for the fire station renovation project. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yet again, we're talking about the fire station renovation project. As you'll recall, in the fall of '21, you guys approved bond funds in the amount of $350,000 to renovate the fire station, primarily to tie in our 4th bedroom, add a second bathroom that is ADA compliant, and create better ingress and egress from the truck bays to the living quarters. We've worked with the architect for multiple months, got a design in place. Their engineers did all the engineering work for us, and Still and Freeman stepped up last month, and on a pro bono basis, they bid the project out for us with their list of contractors, which is in excess of 2,000 contractors, I believe, last time he told me. And I went Friday to a bid opening for those results, and the bid estimates came in at almost double, $591,000. You may recall back, we had asked the architect when we first hired him to give us a cost estimate based on what he was seeing in the construction world on projects they were working on, and his estimate at the time was $600,000. So really and truly, the estimate of the bids actually came back in roughly right where the architect had us at. With construction costs at an all-time high, and knowing that we were grossly over budget, we worked with them for several hours Friday afternoon, and we scrubbed a little over $100,000 out of the bid by value engineering some of the products that were listed out by the architect in there, and by just completely removing some items. The new heaters for the bays, the diesel exhaust removal system, all those things had to be completely taken out of the budget in order to get us to the 490 number. They do have some trades that they're still talking to see if there's any other opportunities to value engineer this anymore. But as we sit right now, we're at 490, and that's with no contingency money at all. So any other money that we save really should be kept in the project just as contingency money, because when they cut the concrete to add sewer, start getting into water lines, HVAC, we don't know what other things on a renovation project we may run across that no one's been able to see currently. At this point, we can't accomplish the bathroom and the things with regard to the living quarters without additional funding in order to do so. And so we're before you tonight asking for additional funds in the amount of $190,000 in order to get the project moving. If we can get the funding to do this, we'll know exactly where we stand by the end of next week. We'll be able to get our contract signed with our trades and get everything underway in September. The temporary living situation is being delivered on the 23rd of August, and the setup on that will start. So we're in a pretty tight timetable to get this going. I'm sorry that it's so rushed, but this was as fast as we could get the bids back. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Where's the money, Marvin?
Construction bond. It's got $2.9 million in it.
You gotta do it. I mean, it is what it is, and costs are what they are, but I think we've gotta do it to...
No, that's what we said when we started. It ain't gonna be price will go, nothing but go up.
Yep.
Well, and given the age of the building too, I think that's important, and the fact that there is no current plan of any kind to do new facilities in the city anytime in the near future, it just makes it that more important that we make the facilities we do have adaptable and useful for guys on duty.
You can't do any more. They're already wanting the ridiculous tax increases it is, at the worst possible time. They estimated the whole total cost was $600,000, and y'all scrubbed it out, and it's still $490, that's what I'm understanding.
The bids came in at $591. That estimate of $600,000 was what the architect gave us before we ever came to council asking for money. That's why we started at $600,000, was based on his professional recommendation. To get to that $490, that's the heater, that's mostly the heaters and the exhaust removal system, which are both big deals. The heaters we have in the truck bays are completely inadequate for warming the bays when we have extreme weather like we've had the last 2 winters. When those bay doors go open and the trucks go out, those heaters cannot keep up or catch up at that point. So we fight that. The diesel exhaust is an ongoing cancer exposure every time they start the trucks. But in order to even begin to get close to being able to get something everybody could live with, we had to cut those 2 items out. They were about $90,000 combined for those 2 things. So the 190 gets us to a bare minimum. If you want to fund the full project, we would need $291,000 on top of the budget we have today in order to do that.
You can't afford it.
We did have a question from the audience. Brent?
So the renovation for the bond amount, you said was $350 or was it $300?
It was $350 totally approved, $50,000 was the architect part of it, $300 was the construction budget.
Okay, because you were saying that you're asking for $190 and the math wasn't added. Okay.
Yeah, the 50 is separate for the architect and engineer.
Any questions for the chief?
Bond money, and this money we set aside though mainly to the roads.
It's, the council wanted to set it aside for the roads, but it does have it in there about, complex improvements to the complex. It has 1.9 million of it in there, but we chose to use as much of it as we could on the streets. Right now, we've used a little over 300,000 on the streets, so that's why we're down to 2.9. It was 3.265.
And to me, this is, you know, I spoke up last year about not thinking it was appropriate to use that for something like renovating the library or something like that. I know that's something staff have their heart set on, but this is something different. It's you know, we've got a full-time department and a volunteer department's space, so, you know.
The exhaust fans in there, once you fire the trucks up and drive them out, are there exhaust fans that will suck them?
Suck
it out while y'all are gone?
The system that's in there, I would assume was put in when the building was built. I'm not even certain that it's operational anymore. What we had in the spec is a direct capture system that's the hoses that ride on a track and they go out the door with the truck, so all the diesel is captured and exhausted above the ceiling level.
Why wouldn't you know if it worked?
What's that?
I don't work out in the truck bay. That's the primary answer.
What's that?
The old exhaust system that's in there.
The fan, we try to turn it on during the summertime, and it's almost 100 degrees in the bay, so it's not working.
So
It's had 4 motors in it since I've been here, it started in 2003. It don't hold up, it's an old system.
So this 190 would not cover that, correct?
You know, we scrubbed those items out just to get down from the almost 600.
But then, if we renovate a whole new fire department, and we leave one thing out, excuse my French, I'm half-assing it, year down the road, we're gonna be asking for it again, and the cost could be doubled.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, not fine.
My goal was to find a happy medium that